Imagine sort of like your favorite mixtape, something that you make for your friends, you curate the music, you share it lovingly. We do that 127 hours a week. It's mixed music programming. Our hosts are walking encyclopedias of music. They're promoters, they're label owners, they're teachers. They care a lot about the music that they're sharing with their listeners. And then our listeners are core to everything we do. We create a really strong community. Our listeners are donors. They support CKUA, and it makes for a pretty cool experience. We are supported by our listeners, and so if our listeners don't support us, we don't have the money to do what we do.
We really are community-supported radio, and so we have a key group of donors who are able to shape programming through donated hours. And we also like to look to our donors for advice on new initiatives, getting their feedback on changes, getting their feedback on fundraising initiatives. So it's really about helping us shape the future. Our station relies heavily on our on-air fundraisers to support our ongoing operations, and so if we don't meet our goals, we can be in significant financial trouble because that is what effectively fuels the station. It's not an easy job, but it's a fun job, but it's certainly not easy.
We're a nonprofit. We exist to serve the community. Commercial radio, they exist to serve their listeners, but at the end of the day, they got to make money. To make things cheaper, to generate more profits, that's where you start to see a lot of repeat music, pretty generic programming from city to city, 15 minutes of advertising every hour, whereas we do 4. And then if you sort of look at like the streaming environment, algorithm is going to tell you what you like based on what you like. So if you know this much music, an algorithm is going to say, you might like this much music. Whereas if you know this much music and you turn into CKUA, we're going to say, hey, you might like all of this over here. And to really let you dive deeper into music.
Our audience, one of the key things that brings them together is that sense of curiosity. They want to learn about new artists that they might be able to see, whether it's at a folk club or, touring through. So I do think that our more established listening audience is interested in new music. We do hear that quite a bit, and I think that that's part of the charm of CKUA is our hosts want to share why they're interested in this artist, why they're playing that song. It's kind of like your favorite 3-hour morning mixtape on why do I want to share this with you?
Yeah, the listeners are on the journey with you. You just have to reassure them once in a while that we all share these common touch points and understandings of there's a whole incredible history of great music in CKUA's library, and we can enjoy the best of the new and the best of what everybody has loved for many years.
CKUA has a really, really strong and loyal community, and we think back to 1997 when we were off the air. It was effectively a group of community members who rallied together to raise the money to bring the station back to life, and I think that loyalty is what continues to motivate people to support us. CKUA plays a very, very important role in so many people's lives and generations. We've been here for 97 years, and so you can imagine how embedded we are into some of people's lives and their key moments, and that loyalty I think is what keeps people supporting us. People do think of CKUA as a friend, as a family member. They connect with the hosts even though they've never met them, and so I think because CKUA is truly something so special, the folks who listen and the folks in our community really want to see this cultural gem continue to be here because it is such a big part of their lives and the history of our country.
I am a CKUA listener, and that's a weird trait about CKUA staff, generally speaking, like hosts, but also staff at large, is we're not just people that are professionals that have been brought in here because, it's a good fit. We actually are almost to a one, dyed in the wool CKUA community members, in many cases, lifelong listeners. And that brings an extra resonance to what we do in our work, and especially those that do get a chance to talk on the microphone. There's a huge intimacy and respect and casualness too, because they are us and we are them, and that's the beauty of community radio.
So would you consider yourself as a host the heart and soul of this whole thing?
Heck no. I'm
You
if
don't.
anything, I'm like the figurehead atop the Christmas tree or something.
We have a lot of hosts that have been here for a long time. We have a lot of hosts that have been here for not that long. But even our established hosts are really interested in what's happening with new music, with new artists, and really getting behind and supporting those artists. They're just really celebrated by their hosts that are so excited to support the artists that are coming up and playing music, whether it's the blues genre or a different genre. Get behind those records and support them. Like, I think that most of our hosts will do that as well. But that audience also is surprisingly young. There's a lot of young people that kind of get, I think maybe they think it's a little bit more of a throwback rather than like a nostalgia thing.
We are constantly evolving. That's just what we do. It's always been a community broadcaster right from the beginning. It's because of the people who support it, and it's also for the people who support it. So we are doing what they want us to do, or as close an approximation as we can imagine. And luckily we get to hear from them very regularly, like every day, asking listeners, what do you value about CKUA? What would you like to hear on CKUA? Quite directly, because we offer them the opportunity to make a musical suggestion, or to tell us a story, or to say, this is my favorite show, or why don't you play more of this? So that's what we're doing.
There's a perception in the world that radio is dying. So, you know, people automatically go, well, your business is dying. We're like, actually, our audience is growing. So that's always a bit of a challenge, is just sort of the perception out there. There's also the perception of, you know, the streaming services sort of being the new radio, but, you know, there's nothing human about those, and we're very human in what we do. What the community loses is there really isn't anything like CKUA. Like, we're a unicorn in a lot of ways. We played and featured over 1,000 artists from Alberta last year. A lot of those artists aren't going to get radio play on a commercial radio station. They're not going to reach out of their rural community and grow an audience outside of that community. They're not going to play at venues that are full of people, because a lot of CKUA listeners are the ones that fill a lot of the local venues. So, you know, it sort of becomes a bit of a thread that in a sweater, when you pull it, it kind of falls apart, right? We are kind of a glue that connects the music sector together. And we're a distinct advantage because we're the only provincial radio station in the country.
Artists, you know, appreciate having their music spun and shared with people, but also the opportunity to come in and talk about like how this got launched into the world and why they're passionate about it. You know, we want to be able to support those musicians, and there's proof of like the support from the community for the community to make your product bigger.
I'm just motivated to bring people in and introduce them to this radio station that I think is Alberta's best kept secret, and creating community around our shared love of music and culture.
We connect this province through music in a way that no other province has. Our vision statement is a better world connected through music, arts, and culture. Like, we need a better world these days. If you're having a really good day and you're tuning into CKUA, you're cranking up the radio and you're just blaring it. And you're peeling down the road and you're singing along or whatever it is, but you're like, we're part of that really good day. If you're having a really bad day and you tune into CKUA, we're giving something of meaning. You know, you're connecting with a genuine individual on the other end, and they're telling a story about a piece of music that they love, and that improves your mood, right? So, you know, whenever you spend time with CKUA, your life is just better. We play into people's mental well-being. We play into their social well-being, and that means a lot to all of us. It's the reason why I think most of us get up in the morning. The world needs more CKUA these days, not less.
The only thing that you can count on is you don't know what to count on. And so you're never going to be able to tell what's happening. You're always going to be learning. You're always going to be discovering. And that's more and more of a rare thing these days. Music's always changing. Society's always changing. CKUA's always been changing, and it won't stop.